All right, I want to talk to you guys today about spectacular culture. And I hear all the time people want to know how to have great culture, what I should do, and usually I get the WTF remark. And I'm going to tell you where you should focus or where to focus instead of cursing on camera. So what I really want you guys to do is think about how to become a fun-loving cult. Right? We're talking about here people not wanting you to leave, want to keep your people, but you got to like really dig into it, right? We got to want to be a cult. We got to want to have this special thing that only we do and we talk about. So I'm going to go through a 90-minute presentation right now in 5 minutes and tell you all the things you need to do without telling you actually how to do them. Sorry. So Gallup, we've heard of that a lot. They talk a lot about the state of workplace. They just released their 250-page PDF that says it still sucks out there. Okay? So, employee engagement is still not there. So I want to talk about cognitive biases. That's the place I think we're not spending enough time. So this is a jerboa, I think how you say it. I went to the zoo, and they told us all about it, and they asked the kids, what is this animal? It has rabbit ears, and it has a kangaroo legs. And they all said it's a kangaroo, it's a rabbit, maybe there was some Barry White, and they had a baby, whatever. That's not what happened. This is just a rodent that evolved in a way that looks like a rabbit. So people can only take the two things they know or the multiple things they know to explain something. And every day this happens at work. Someone got mad at me and someone did this, so therefore no one likes me and they hate me. They only take the small details they know to make their own story. So the way we can counter this is through positive leadership. Right? We can start to talk about these things and insert and teach people new ways in which they can think about things and interact with each other so they don't have to make their own stories. Now, there's a wonderful story. I suggest you get the full version, but essentially, if you look at positive dissidents, it was an organization went to Vietnam, and they figured out why was 1 out of 10 babies surviving. Now, the problem was why were 9 out of 10 dying of malnutrition. And they figured out why was the one living. That's positive dissidence. If your sales team sucks, find the one who's good, right? And figure out what they're doing well, and not, instead of spending so much time on the other 9 that aren't. So if we can look at that from that positive standpoint, it's a totally different way to look at your organizations. So the things you have to have transparency. If you're not being transparent, maybe to some reasons you can't tell everyone everything, at least give them clarity. Okay, if you're not doing that, you suck, go home, you're done. Your organizations are never going to get where they need to be. You also need to start measuring things. If you don't measure them, you can't manage them. Say it with me. If you don't measure them, you can't manage them. It just doesn't work. And you need to have a system in place. Now, my favorite system is a Scrum or Agile system. I went in and got my Scrum certification, Scrum Master thing. It's gone from software into companies. But you can do Lean. You can do Six Sigma. I don't care. Just find something so everyone knows what the rules of the game are and how to work and how to talk to each other. Okay? Because you need that. We just expect people to show up and be great, and we don't tell them the rules. We tell them the rules in sports, but not in work. Okay, so we know the kind of the famous ways in which a lot of these different organizations work. I suggest that you need to have teams. Teams all day long. Put people in teams that are not really meant to be together all the time in different ways and let them start working together. So how do we actually make it happen? How do we go home today and make our companies a little bit better? Hopefully I can give you a couple things here that will maybe work. So the first is we can really this is a really long slide. I was ready for the next one. Here we go. All right. Are your people physically ready? If you stick them in a room at 10:30 and they're starving and it's freezing cold in there, I don't care what you tell them, they're going to tell you no. They're going to give you a negative reaction. This is another one of these cognitive biases. They need to be ready. Are they mentally ready? I went to this great meeting. We were going to talk about these cool things we're going to do, and someone, hey, did you know that John's grandma died? That's all we thought about. Oh, I'm so sorry, man. I mean, for 30 minutes, the meeting was over, right? We were talking about this other thing. So make sure they're mentally ready to have the conversations. Are they in a good place? And of course, we talk about all these things. We have a lot of great speakers that have brought these up already. But, are you tying this to your uniqueness, your purpose? What is it your company does, right? We don't do these cool things if they don't have any way to connect back to what we're doing. And we have some great recognition people in the back. And make sure your recognition programs are not feeding one group of people or the loudest and the most charismatic people. I know, because I can get a lot of recognition if I'm just really loud, okay? But there are lots of people who aren't getting that, who are the more the introverted people, right? That deserve that recognition. So make sure your programs are kind of wide-reaching. I'm not going to go into too much on the listening. Val did a great job. That 2 ears, 1 mouth, that's all you need to know, right? You need to start doing a better job in organizations of listening and getting that institutionalized. One of my favorite things we talked about last year was tribal speak. If you can have cool names for things, it adds a lot of glue to your culture. Okay, name your meetings. Come up with crazy things that make people from the outside not understand what you're talking about if you're talking about an internal conversation. It adds a lot. And last but not least, anything you do, if you're tired of trying to get people to sign up for things or to do the new program, find a champion. And that's someone who has energy and excitement about what you're talking about, and they will do all the work for you. They will get all of their friends in the company to come and do it. So anyways, thank you.